Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to welcome all our esteemed panelists. So first of all, quick introduction. I'm Sachin Seth. I lead digital and fintech practice in Ernst & Young and work with most of the clients in India, Middle East, and Africa. It's my great honor to be part of this panel and moderate the panel. And we have a very strong, lineup of the esteemed panelists here. So I'll just do a quick introduction, and then probably we can get into a very interesting interactions and the debate around, what's the secret of, in terms of banking, how do we do basically transformation? How do we look at innovations, basically driving the digital transformation in the banking, right? So just a quick introduction of my fellow colleagues, panelist here. So Prasanna Lohar, Head of Innovation and Architecture for DCB Bank. Abhishek, CIO of IIFL Wealth. Vinna from uh, you know Bajaj Capital. He's a EVP and the Chief Digital Officer. And we also have from Simplify Imran, who is leading the company for basically providing a digital workforce or digital, you can say, support for the companies to become more and more digital as far as the services to the customers are concerned, right? So I think the topic is pretty interesting. We are all going to talk about the secret of better banking in terms of using innovation for the digital transformation. So we also have our another panelist who's late by a few minutes, Suresh Chand, who's also head of innovation at Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services. So I hope he'll be joining us soon. So we have about an hour, and as I think there is quite a bit of audience participation also is there in this panel, we would look forward to questions from you to make it more and more interactive. So starting with my quick question to Abhishek about basically in the post-pandemic situation today, how people are looking at innovation, because I know that 8, 9, 10 months have been, there has been sort of emotions of fear, anxiety, and then basically uncertainty. And I think after unlocking of July, August onwards, and based on whatever budget has talked about, global leaders have talked about, I think India has done fairly well, I must say. So the question comes is that where are we on the innovation agenda as far as banking or BFSI is concerned? I would say I would take it a little bit broader because we have some of the panelists representing the other parts of the BFSI as well. So basically, how the digital transformation is occupying the center stage post-pandemic, and what exactly is the role of innovation in that? Are we trying to do things business as usual, making them more efficient, or are we looking at, as a industry leaders, the situation wherein post-pandemic we have opportunity to actually disrupt quite a bit of things which we were doing in a very different way, and now because of the change which has happened across the world and mostly with our clients, our people, etc., how do we look at digital transformation impacting that in a positive? So Abhishek, opening with you, and I'll definitely go round table and have views from other panelists as well. Yeah, Abhishek.
Thanks, Sachin, and it will be a great opportunity to speak and share with everyone. I would say, and I'll talk a lot around the wealth industry and let my fellow colleagues talk about the banking and the NBFC industry. We have Prasanna and Abhin also here. The way it's been going is innovation has been always on the boardroom topic, right on the top, right? But I feel the seriousness with which today it is being considered, the seriousness with which digital transformation is being looked even in businesses which were more focused always at saying that it's a very human touch engagement business is very, very high. And so even businesses like ours, which is a wealth management business, which always believe that it's a very high touch business, we don't need any specific digital layer in between. It is the human or it is the relationship manager or sales who will engage with the client. Everyone now believes that digital has a lot of role to play across the whole life cycle of the client. And when I say life cycle, right from the time we start meeting till the time we execute, everything now should be enabled on digital. There's also a whole belief about saying if the client is not ready to get self-service, the client doesn't want to be with us. So every client today wants that he should be able to do everything on his own. So that's that phenomena which we always used to say is a very, very retail phenomena is now being very clear is across the broad spectrum, right from retail to any segment, right? Even the corporate customers, for example, today want a lot ready on their digital platforms, a lot enabled to be able to execute by them on their own. So that's a big change. Even I feel on our own staffing arrangements, this whole point of everyone coming to office, everyone should be present at morning 9 o'clock, that whole mindset is changing. People are becoming more flexible. Everyone, especially at the boardroom level, absorbing the fact that work from home works well. It is productive. There are two different questions to it always, but it has been productive, right? It is possible, it is available, and it is possible to thrive with that approach where 50% of your workforce is not in office all the time. And that's going to help in reduce a lot of cost. Travel itself is going to see a lot of change. Right? I mean, no one now today wants to travel. Everyone has so many channels to collaborate and engage. There's no need for consultants, for your team members to keep traveling across and meeting. So there are various facets of, I feel one is client and second is internal within the organization, a lot of change happening around.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks. I think that was pretty good opening remarks to set the context and the tone. Now, the second thing I just want to understand, and this where I will pull in Prasanna to give his point of view, that, while all of us agree digital transformation has occupied the center stage. I mean, it was somewhere there on the stage always, but now because of this pandemic and post-pandemic, the way industry has taken a bounce back, people are coming to normal and people are becoming more and more digital in their whatever they do. Now, my question to you, Prasanna, and I know we have been interacting very regularly in various panels, and you have been a thought leader for many years. I know you personally. My question to you is that are we doing, some path-breaking innovations, or are we just trying to make it things little bit more efficient than what they were, and we are basically taking away the inefficiency which was created by industry itself? So we were having a lot of duplicacy of the task. We were having a lot of feet on the street. We were having a duplicacy of between chatbots to call center to feet on the street to DSAs to the whole model of basically trying to aggressively promote BFSI products as well as service them, right? But are we looking at some path-breaking innovations in the coming days, and what would be the top 3 innovations you think could be possibly there in the industry coming up in this year post-pandemic, where everybody's budgets are fully aligned to the digital transformation?
Sorry. Yeah, so Sachin, I think good to see you again. And thank you, organizer, for inviting me for Ignite 2021. And the question which you have asked, Sachin, is a summary of what I have done as a banker in the last 8-10 months. So I think the answer is a twofold for this. If you look at what we have done, right, as an industry or as an organization, we have always done some kind of innovations which may not be path-breaking innovation, as you asked. But as a country, we have done some innovations which are path-breaking innovations. Say, take example, before pandemic, during demonetization, we launched UPI. Or you talk about Aadhaar, right? It itself is a very path-breaking innovations for a country like India. Okay, so now coming back, what we have done as a country in the last 8-10 months, right? So, or what we should be aspired for in this whole time. Certainly, one important aspect which is a change, right? The customer as itself is a change. Customer has become more agile. Customer behavior has changed. Customer who used to visit your bank branches started not to visit bank branches, rather than doing transactions from home or wherever he is. Customers who used to visit cinema halls started seeing even say entertainment aspect either on Netflix or Amazon Prime and these kind of apps. So human augmentation was an important factor, and I think what our fellow panelists also spoke. So it's around what fellow panelists spoke. It's around working from home, right? So that behavior also changed for employees or of a bank or any of those organizations. So yeah, so coming back, just a second. Just give me a second.
I think you have got some Simply AI's digital employees troubling you.
Yeah. So now I'm back. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so coming back, see, if you talk about path-breaking innovations and what we have seen, COVID kind of a scenario came in our life, like something has happened. That's what people have seen. Something has happened in Wuhan, and it has really impacted most of the countries. Just imagine something has happened in some country, and it has really impacted every country, and every country is talking about doing a lot of innovations, vaccines, and so many things. We have seen n number of innovations happen, not in banking, but in non-banking area, like adoption of your drones or robots or humanoids in hospitals, or some kind of a 3D printed houses, if you for people who want to localize into some other area. So these kind of things we have seen. But as far as the banking goes, I think what we have seen, we have not seen any path-breaking innovation in the last few months. But what I can see here onwards, at least banking or BFS has really understood there is a need of some kind of a path-breaking innovation. Say example, we are sitting on huge operations, right? So as a bank, there is a lot of operations, reconciliation, settlement process, dispute management, and so many things are happened. And what we say as a say example Atmanirbhar campaign, which talks about how do we really optimize or make our supply chain or any of those operations in a smart way. So bringing in that same attention in the banking industry, how can we remove these operations? So there I can say one of those innovations which we can do, how can we really do the innovations in account opening, right? So suppose I'm opening account in a bank A, can I not use same KYC or CKYC in bank B? Although we had tried that earlier, right? But adoption is a challenge out there, right? So if I can bring on some blockchain kind of ecosystem, and I say that particular CKYC, KYC is available for all the banks, provided what kind of a governance model which will bring on. How do we incentivize other banks if a KYC is done by bank A? So how do I that bank A can be get benefited out of the creation of those, taking those efforts? So I think that kind of innovations will bring not only in banking but other kind of industries will see, because if you 60 to 70% data points are always same. So I think bringing digital identity under all kind of a business models will become very good innovations for us. Although we have Aadhaar, passport, PAN, and so many kinds of digital identities in India, but typically if you see some of those countries who are really taking advantage of digital, they have hardly one or two. Okay, and the country itself adopts one or two. So I think we need to really think how Aadhaar becomes prominent back when we tried removing or aligning PAN plus Aadhaar, but I think it will take some time. There are a lot of initiatives which will happen. NISG is doing some work, and recently Niti Aayog or MITI is also announced how can we bring on some suggestion on blockchain. So I think bringing on digital identity across BFSI sector to do, I think that will be a very path-breaking innovation. Second thing which I'll talk about, Sachin, is around account aggregator, right? So we've been hearing account aggregator since last 2 to 3 years, and this launch of account aggregator, although there are 7-8 banks has really done some pilot along with the 7-8 account aggregators. So I think launch and utilization, the way UPI, we have done UPI, I think bringing account aggregation will bring a lot of standardization and will save a lot of cost around integrations of one fintech to multiple banks. It takes a lot of time, right? If some fintech comes to DCB bank, 15-20 days, same integration you will do some other additional work. So with account aggregator, with the right set of business models, I think they are thinking about SME lending to begin with. So I think that will bring on a lot of innovations in our country. Although data will be another aspect to be taken care of. Third thing, I think while we have a journey of account aggregator or many other things, I think what is that required is identifying every bank, right? Every bank has a similar set of operations. Starting from account opening, in the back end, we can identify more than 200-300 use cases where there is a room of automation. We can remove completely those operational process with kind of robots, or rather RPA or next level of RPA, that is intelligent automation. So appeal is to those banks and the service providers, bring up some cookie cutter or some kind of a platform which is for intelligent automation platform to automate all of these legacy processes. If I say as a bank, I need to remove all of these processes one day, it will not happen. It will take some time. There are some processes to be revamped. There are documentation to be revamped. People have to be reskilled. There are many more things to do. If you really remove all those legacy systems, it takes some time. But I think if we can minimize that journey of having so much of operation by bringing right set of tools for IA, intelligent automation and robotic process automation, which will save a lot of cost for banks. So I think post-pandemic banks or every organization looking at how to optimize their operation, how to really improve their profits and cost. So I think adoption of emerging technologies and coming together, it's very, very important. UPI was example wherein coming together we formed UPI ecosystem, and which is giving a lot of incentives to the whole banking ecosystem. Similarly, account opening or utilization of open banking, or you talk about KYC, digital identity, and and today customer is interacting with the bank. Tomorrow, same customer will interact with the bank, telecom, entertainment industry on the same mobile platform. So consolidation of a platform is very, very need of a time. I think those kind of a path-breaking innovation should come in our life. But I think
Sure.
if you look at Sachin, in a nutshell, I think last few months, I think some banks have adopted video KYC, some banks have come up with some contactless banking, or some kind of a branch experience wherein customer is entering. I came to know who has really entered. I think whole customer journey, starting from account opening till he reaches out to branch or any of the channels. So I, as a banker, want to know what he is really doing 24/7, provided he has given consent to understand what he is really doing 24/7. And that kind of a small innovation everybody is doing. But on a larger scale, NPCI is doing something on a UPI or something like that. Similarly, we need to bring on some kind of thing on a KYC aspect, or improvising the settlement aspects, or improvising the account opening or open banking. So these are all my initial views, while we'll keep on discussing this part. That is why the topic of innovation is really, really required these days for us to really survive and remove all of this extra cost. Yeah.
Sure. No, thank you. I think, Prasanna, that was quite exhaustive understanding of the whole industry, and that shows the kind of knowledge you have acquired by having hands-on experience. So let me just jump to Abhinna. And Abhinna, I'll bring you from a different perspective. As I know that Bajaj Capital is very much into the insurance distribution, it is into the wealth management, it is into the various other products distribution. And so my question to you would be that while we are talking about secret of better banking, and I mean, I'm taking it again as a better BFSI, because banking doesn't happen in isolation. I mean, fee-based income distribution, everything is basically the other products as well, right? So Bajaj Capital being fairly successful in this space, what is your experience about the innovation being done to carry out the digital transformation? Where it is happening more, where it is challenges are more? Is it more in integrating with the insurance companies or working with insurance companies as like a major corporate distributor like yours? Or is it with more, dealing with other wealth management products? Or is it with banks for certain services which you may provide to basically help customers manage their account, etc.? So where do you see, I would say the innovation is happening more, where it is slow? Just to get a comparison, because I think you are dealing in across the board, so I'm sure your point of view is very relevant to get the picture that who's moving fast and who's moving slow, and how the whole BFSI industry is coming together as far as innovation agenda is concerned.
So thank you, Sachin, and thank you to all the panelists and the Ignite team to inviting me for this. I always say that we should take a backseat first to see what the picture is, what is happening, right? And first and foremost thing that we have to understand it, see everything as a layer. And on each layer, there is innovation happening. So there is first angle, which is say customer. Now, when you see India, and I'm considering myself only to this topic to India, you see India is not India as a country. It's anyway a continent. And your customers are diverse, right? In the same city, you can have different kind of India living in. So how we see it is 4 different kind of India. And I keep saying this, that there is a Alpha India, there is a Bharat, and there is Bharat 2, right? A lot of us talk about only the Alpha Indian, the Fab India generation, see it as a generation which wears Fab India clothes and celebrate Diwali in offices, right? Where offices are decorated. So this is a tier 1 market which is there. There is second India, which is still on 2-wheelers, trying to come up, not the ultra HNIs, the typical generation, you and me there. And then there is Bharat 1 and Bharat 2 in the tier 2 cities and down. When we say financial, people, finance as a category has always been very opaque. And transparency by default has not been there, because I don't want to tell how much I have, and I do not want to, and I really want to know how much you have. So it's a different world out there when it comes to this as a category. Now, when we talk finance or BFSI, the challenge is there is no right answer when it comes to innovation. What is innovative for me may not be very innovative for a different audience, right? If I already have an account, what will I do with a video KYC account opening? It is a good for the business, but not for as a customer. So now happens from here, the diversification start. Are you bringing solution for your existing customer and they are able to do everything simply, easily? Or are you bringing a solution which is going to get you more customers? Like in banking sector, having an account opened and not transacting is a cost to the bank. That obviously our panelists will agree. The challenge that we see, say, in an insurance sector, what Reliance did to Netflix, Jio, right? The same thing COVID has done to insurance as a sector. The demand for insurance has now started from the customer side rather than from a push. So suddenly a product which was a push product has become a pull product within months. And that is the biggest opportunity that has happened. Now, everybody is trying to do two things. One, take the massive share of the existing market. There are leaders who are trying to expand the market. For expanding the market, there is some beautiful innovations happening. People are trying to do, like a COVID insurance policy, 15 days waiting time. Bajaj Capital, we launched 15 days waiting time and a COVID insurance policy. It got a huge uptake among all set of audience, huge uptake. But the challenge was always about, are you bringing an innovation which is just a digital innovation, or it is an innovation which is driving business for you? Eventually, we all are here to drive business for our stakeholders. And that is the core delivery that we want to do. Now, the third layer to this, and when we really look at BFSI as a sector and we talk less, we all talk about data, data security to data management to big data analytics. The game has shifted from data is the new oil to data is the new soil. And that I keep saying, data is the soil. You have to cultivate it. Whoever is able to cultivate that data, that soil effectively, is going to be the winner in the market. And it is digital is always going to be winner takes it all market. There will not be, take an example, Australia and the Commonwealth Bank there. 25 million Australians, 19 millions are customers of. So what are they launching? They are launching a product like Benefits Finder. And what we are also looking for in our segment is finding benefits. What customer is looking for is they want at as much as ease as possible. So where I think is the next big innovation is going to come is using technology to make financial decisions as easy as possible, like you make decisions of paying a bill, not investing, not just investing, but where to invest for my stage of life. That is where the decisions are going to be made in next 5 years, 2 years down the line. And that's where the new innovation is going to come. That's how I see it.
Sure. Thank you, Avenna. That was really very interesting insights and the futuristic view. I think, and it is very relevant. And I think indirectly, I did get a message also that insurance is under tremendous pressure and uptake is happening. So I'm sure the digital adoption will move a lot more faster, etc. But obviously, yes, as you said, goal-based investing or the people, technology-driven
Goal-based
investing.
insurance, Sachin, sorry to just add here, goal-based insurance is what customers are asking.
Right.
If give me a Google Maps API, I will integrate that API. I get out of my office, I have from my home, I have an insurance for that duration. If I am not on, on road, why do I need an insurance?
Yeah.
So effectively, everybody is going to look at innovation as, I have 30,000 days on this planet called Earth, right? That's human lifespan, 80 years multiplied by 365 days, somewhere that's the time. Multiplied by 24 hours, 60 minutes, you have a specific time. This much is the amount of person is going to travel in this day. I'm just giving an example of a motor insurance. Now, I want, very clearly, Abhishek is going to bring from the CTO angle, bring a Google API integration very quickly for us, for his company, and say that now your insurance is only going to be valid for this much amount of time. And Google is very happy to give the API because you are out. Now, when this innovation comes, I am very happy to give 500 rupees only when I am on road, rather than buying a 15,000 rupees for government chasing me for giving us some discount or something, right? For say health or motor kind of thing. So everything like this is going to happen. Same is going to happen for wearable. It is in fact happening. In Singapore, government has bought Fitbit. They are going to give you basis how much your effective movement is and exercise and your body vitals. They are going to give you insurance accordingly because you want to take care. So everything like this is going to be like electricity. You only remember it when it is not going to be there.
Interesting, very interesting. I remember I worked briefly with the South African insurance company called Discovery, and they have this vitality model for life and general both. How do you drive and how many times you go to gym? But that's interesting. I think India, I hope it will count yoga also, because Indians do more yoga than going to gym.
And you will be amazed. I'm just adding here, Sachin. Sorry, taking 30 seconds more. What is happening is there are policies being made. We are working with people to figure out, can we have a policy where if you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, that will be considered as a bill to be submitted for your health insurance claim? And that is, I guess, everybody is working on that area. And why not? Right? So alternative medicine comes in. Same is happening yoga. So yoga mats are something which are coming up integrated with the insurers. If you do this much hours on that yoga and you are actually getting that much of calories burned, you will get those kind of things. So, the layer of finance is not going to be there. We are going to be everywhere. There will be no boundaries with digital. And that's the beauty that we all are sitting. And that's why probably Prasanna is so excited. You will see me excited. Abhishek, Imran, all of us are very excited about this opportunity.
Excellent. No, I think this is really the innovation we are all waiting for, because I think a lot of innovation is happening. Missed call alert, WhatsApp banking, this banking, that banking, all this fine. But the fundamental, I think and we are using this panel to basically bring out those ideas, that not only using technology for the various channels of communication. I think what the time has come is to see that how the products have to be redesigned. And I think, Abhinay, you have brought that very important topic, that, age-old insurance, how it is being underwritten, how it is being sort of priced. It has to be challenged, because the reason is that people, when they bought the car insurance or a health insurance, the lifestyle was very different, and today it is very different, right? So the risk parameters have changed, and at the same time, people's priorities have changed. Today, sometimes people own 2 or 3 cars. The driver is only one in the home, right? So why do you need where earlier days there used to be 3 drivers in the home and there was only 1 car, right? So things are changing, and health is also becoming very, very important. I hope this Fitbit or whatever technology we are talking about is able to count the Surya Namaskar of yoga, because I haven't seen it counts that. So let's see. That's going to be the lot of pressure on the other manufacturers of the devices also. I'll come to you, Prasanna. I know that you have a lot of ideas. I'll come to you. Let me just have a quick chat with Imran on this. So Imran, you are hearing a lot about here, and I think the company you are driving as a CTO is basically as a digital employee. That your whole the proposition is a digital employee. So with all this happening, do you see that the digital employee becoming the center of this whole digital transformation? Because everything what we are talking about here is the engagement happening with the end user, let's say consumer or partner or etc. in a digital fashion, right? So maybe quick few bites from you on this, that how digital employee, or how basically what kind of models can be created for the better, what could be the secret of better banking using this kind of models? And also there may be, because you are from service provider community, I would also like to extend the question that, there are so many fintechs, startups are claiming to do so many things, right? How does a bank or a BFSI company evaluates or decides that what is going to be relevant and what's not going to be relevant, what's basically is just a MVP or just a, let's say, POC, and what's the real technology. I think that's also a bigger challenge for most of the people. Yeah. So please, Imran, stage to you, and then I'll come to Prasanna.
Thank you, Sachin, and thank you, Abhishek, Prasanna, and Abhina. Very good discussions. Especially, I like the quote from Abhina about data is new soil, and whoever managed to cultivate the soil can get gold out of it. So well said, and good afternoon to everyone. Yes, it's digital employees. Yes, we build the digital employees, but what is a digital employee? And when you ask about what's the secret of better banking, well, in my opinion, it's not really secret. It's the customer experience. It's the source for the better banking. We have seen lately with Uber, Ola, Airbnb, and so on. It's customer who has the power to decide everything. They decides how you run your business. Customer expects immediate, personalized, and consistent support. They can't wait. They can't wait for 24 hours or 7 days to answer you back. And the level of service that might have been acceptable to a customer a year ago, it suddenly becomes a complaint at this time. So it's basically, and if your customers are not happy with you, they will take it to the social media platform. Things go viral, and suddenly you have damaging your reputations. So it's and another point that brings is basically you can't be reactive to the customer needs. You need to be proactive. You really need to proactive, and you need to be where your customers are. This is where I believe the digital employees or emergent technologies can actually help, and innovation comes handy. So leverage the AI or machine learning or other capabilities those exist there to bring the proactively meet your customer needs, and of course support your staff with these technologies so that they can do more meaningful tasks. You have happy employees. Let the robots or digital employees do the repetitive, boring tasks, and your employees are doing the basically more interesting and more meaningful tasks, so they can help you in bringing more innovation within your organization. We all agree that COVID-19 has accelerated the digital transformation, not only the transformation but adoption as well in whole BFSI industries, as well as not only the industry but within the consumers as well. Recent survey from FIS says that 68% of Indian consumers are now using the online banking or insurance services, and many of those are going to stay there post pandemic as well. In my view, the BFSI institutes who can combine their own digital transformation done over past few years and the consumers who are available on digital channel, combine these with emerging technologies like AI, deep learning, machine learning, or NLP. Those are going to be the winner. All customer interactions are basically moved digitally. Doesn't really matter which channel they are. It could be, you can't really force your customer to go to my web page and fill in the form there, and you can claim your insurance, or you can do your KYC there. Your customer expect to answer you whichever channel you basically they prefer. Some will prefer, of course, email. Some want to chat, WhatsApp, Signal. There will be plenty are there. Plenty will come and go. So you basically need to be there where your customers are. Change is inevitable, and especially who we are working with the IT. So adopting and working in collaboration with innovative technology is vital. The point that Abhina was pointing to, I have an app on my mobile, and my insurance is being paid based on how I use. So as long as my app is enabled while I drive the car, it sends my insurance company. So they adjust my premium according to my usage. How am I driving the car roughly, or I'm the silent driver, or what are my speed limits, and all those things. So with help of coming back to such in your question about how does the digital employees can help uh, help the normal BFSI or industry. Let's say you have a customer service where you get many inquiries. Let's say 10,000 of emails or inquiries every week. And what we believe is using the technology NLP. We have seen the chatbots are already there, but NLP is getting more and more powerful with natural language understanding. We can help technologies there to help basically understand or classify your inquiry, extract the information out of your inquiry, like what is this inquiry about? Is it about KYC? Then whose KYC it is? Are there any documents attached? Are those documents self-attested? If everything is there, basically you can have the smart decision engine built into the digital employees. We can take a decision. Okay, do I have enough information to say that this KYC is complete? If this is complete, there you go. You connect it to your infrastructure, which you have already built during last period, and say that okay, KYC is updated. Answer back to the customer instead of both waiting for 24 hours or 3 days to complete the process. You complete the process within a day. Your employees within seconds, not a matter of day, but within a matter of seconds. Your employees don't even need to look at it, and your customers get a feedback that the things are in place. And of course, AI or machine learning is not 100%. So there are certain tasks which AI doesn't handle. Then you basically say that as long as it says that okay, this is something I don't really understand. Here you go, my human colleague. Please take over this one and speak to the customer. So you need to have the combine both digital employees and actual employees holding hands of each other and moving to the next era or next transformation, basically.
Sure.
And when it comes to the question of in this era where there are many fintech vendors, how do you find the right ones or wrong ones? Well, technology is changing so fast and innovations are moving so fast. We have seen the thousands of fintech vendors across the globe, and especially in the India where technology is a key. We produce a lot of technology in our homeland. So here, basically, in my view, the way you need to fail fast. Basically, you try fast, fail fast. Any project that takes more than 8 weeks is kind of too big project for me. So you need to have the window of, let's say, 4 to 8 weeks. You figure out, okay, is that something working for me, and move on, because then you're not investing a lot of money, but not a lot of time either. So you need to find a balance, and as long as any vendor that can provide you short time to market and prove their tech to you within that period, you can, of course, then you have proof in the pudding there, right?
Absolutely, Imran. Thank you so much. I think quite insightful. So, Prasanna, let me come back to you. I know we sort of left that topic, which is where Abhinna had raised certain point of views of how use case based innovation can happen, etc. And I think you were raising your hand to talk about that. So happy to get you back in the discussion, and please go ahead with your point of view on that. I think you are on mute, Prasanna. Can't hear you. Yeah, Prasanna, you are on mute. You can unmute yourself. I think I can see the mute button. Any difficulty? I mean, okay. I think what we'll do is Probably we'll move to another question. And Prasanna, once you are able to unmute, you can get back to this. So, Prasanna, we are not able to hear you. I think your button is unmute and sorry, mute button. So I think there is some problem in the communication. Maybe a request organizers, Sania, to help us in unmuting Prasanna. And so in the meantime, I think let me get back to Abhishek with another question. By the time we are able to solve this technical problem at Prasanna's end. Prasanna, you are now showing unmuted. Yeah. I think, sorry. I think it's great that you are back. Yeah. Please go ahead. So we were asking that, you had some point of views on what Abhinav had said, and then you had, I'm sure you have some use cases.
Yeah, I think Abhinav was talking about very good views about dynamic insurance, right? So the way I drive my car or the way I do yoga, or I think that's going to be reality once we'll have after mobile, we'll have a lot of variables, right? IoT devices. Once we land up post 5G and variables, life will become more smarter and more customer will become more demanding, and all of a sudden our business model will change. I think Sachin, you rightly said, gone were those days. On yearly, I used to go and buy some car insurance or some insurance or life insurance. Now, based upon your habits and based upon your behavioral skills or based upon your how do you drive your car, fast or slow, automatically your insurance will be calculated. And that is a rise of a new business model with the new technologies will come into picture. So that is what I was just supporting Abhinav's view on top of that. Yeah.
No, I think that's interesting. And I just read the news that IRDA is already contemplating taking the data from traffic police about the traffic. So obviously driving the car, how you accelerate, how you brake, how many times you change the gear, that's obviously more complicated. And I think telematics is being used in some countries to track that. But definitely, I think IRDA is, I see that note that they are looking for some data to come from traffic police to see that how many violations you are doing. Because naturally, if you are an alert driver, or safe driver, you would have minimal violations. And nowadays, violations are completely recorded through the video cameras in most of the cities. So I think this is something which is, I'm sure, would come much earlier compared to the driving habits in terms of actual driving habits. But violations could give some data, and it will improve the price for the people basically who follow the norms a lot more, right? That's interesting. So Prasanna, then I think I have another question to you now.
Yeah.
See, you did talk about blockchain, and I know we have interacted in many forums on the blockchain topic. My point here is that if you look at API, Open API infrastructure and blockchain, both are supposed to be part of the infrastructure play, right? It is difficult to do in isolation, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can have internal APIs or microservices for the apps or internal consumption, which every company more or less has now. But when it comes to integrating with others, I think this is where the problem starts. And you also raised this very valid point in the beginning, saying that if there is an integration has happened already between two companies, why it needs to be continuously repeated? It's like we are actually, trying to do piping and the wiring almost at every place. We are not using a duct, or we are not using a common shared. So let me coin this word called, shared economy, which is used very commonly in other industries like say automobile and all. But I'm saying, why not we'll talk about the shared economy of the financial infrastructure. So let's take an example of TransUnion CIBIL or NPCI. They are shared infrastructure, but they are set up mostly with the support from government, RBI, etc., at certain point of time. Now, obviously, some of them are getting privatized, etc. It's happening, right? Or some of them have a minimal stake from the government. But how do we bring? I have not seen any in the API space as well as in the blockchain space, a certain kind of similar body coming in, either from private sector and getting a participation from others, or not from the government to or regulators to take it forward. So what's your view? Do you think it is a success and new fintechs can come in this space, and it's a model wherein financial infrastructure space is where new fintech should come? And the question what we have is that what is the secret for the better banking or BFSI?
Yes.
Will they be able to help bring more efficiencies and reduce the cost and improve time to market? Because today, if you try to integrate between one insurance company to a bank or a broker, it can take you anywhere from 5 days to 2 months, depending on both the ends, how they are ready, right? So what's your thought on common infrastructure to make, and will that be a big enough innovation to really change the whole paradigm of the industry?
Say example, let's take example of a Bitcoin, right, which is not regulated and really used by many of the individuals across the world. And the transaction is also increasing day by day. Valuation is almost 40 billion, more than that, I think. And you talk about some of those another companies called as a decentralized finance companies, wherein I think there are around 200, 300 such companies, and the valuation is almost reached out to the 13 billion within 2000 till since 2019. And they are parallel ecosystem, and people are really utilizing it for a savings account, current account, loan services, etc. Although in India there is not much adoption has happened, but I think this is a really good idea, Sachin. I think whenever I speak with many of the fintechs or large fintechs, I always recommend, why not you guys come together and create your own ecosystem, and probably that will be lifted by government by saying, yeah, this is really going in the right direction, and tomorrow if some regulation has to be also done, and I think this is built around regulation. And say example, account aggregator, we've been hearing RBI's initiatives, which is being handled by Rebit along with some of the account aggregator. I think that will be a game changer, provided it has to be really lifted the way UPI or Aadhaar was lifted and got into. I think maybe by March, April, we'll see some light on those, some launch of a account aggregator. But I think coming back, open APIs, some of those 11, 12 companies, so-called, they themselves called as they are challenger bank, like Open Money or Insta Money, or there are few of them, and everybody is saying they are open banks or challenger bank, the way this model is there in Europe, but they are really not. What they are doing, they are embarking the banking journey. Again, there is a point-to-point journey, and it is up to the efforts taken by each individual. I think account aggregator coming into picture, that will wipe out that and bring some kind of a standardized model around, so that ultimately customers, SMEs, or wherever the financial institution, those customers has to be benefited out of this, or most of the customers benefited out of it. Now, you rightly said NPCI is the outcome, right? So we have seen NPCI came in and they have around more than 15 plus product which is being widely utilized by every Indian. You talk about UPI or ATM or ETC or BBPS, and it's a really good game changer thing we have done in payment. Now talk about blockchain. There were some efforts we have seen by ICS in few banks to bring on blockchain infrastructure company. I think RBI at IDRBT also we tried to create our own blockchain forum, and I think it has to be picked heavily, and that will be picked up provided some use case has to be there. I can certainly see some, otherwise what's the use of using technology, right? So tomorrow blockchain will become blockchain 2.0, will be part of some other journey. But I think trade finance, cross-border payment, this KYC, syndicated loan, AML, there are a lot of areas in banking which needs to be improvised, and wherein and blockchain or similar kind of a technology. I'm not saying blockchain, but improvised version of blockchain, which has a better speed or a better interoperability, and that is our own blockchain baseline, our own blueprint should come. I think that is a try. I think IDRBT are taking.
Right.
I think that is what is needed. That's what I said now. On a CKYC, I think NSE is gonna. In my interactions with Bhasin sir, I think they are trying something along with the Wipro to create CKYC on blockchain. Or we always hear that Aadhaar's next version will be on blockchain kind of, so that ultimate customer get and consent that your Aadhaar is getting utilized here and here. Is that you, right? And I think. And why blockchain is required, right? Although the overall ecosystem is API based, but blockchain comes and adds a layer, which is a security layer, and although customer will not understand whether it is secure or not, although service providers will understand this is far more secure. Bankers will understand this is far more secure. So I think I can talk some of those use cases which will be like a sharing, right? So what World Economic Forum says today, you are operating on 10, 12 sharing economies like a car or sharing co-working places and so on. In next 3 to 4 years, you will have more than 350 such entities. And while operating on these entities, ultimate customer will always look for a aspect which is called as a trust.
Right.
Whether I'm ordering something from Amazon or ordering through these banks API, whether am I getting actual product, or am I getting, or if I'm doing any of those residential deal, will it gonna be an actual or a land deal? So I think when we see all these entities are there in our vicinity, all these entities has to come on a blockchain kind of ecosystem where ultimate customers should know what is happening around that entity.
Right,
So
right.
we will
Fair
see
point.
these rise of these things. But over to your suggestion, I think fintechs or some kind of a company should come and really form, I think, few of those use cases which will drive rest of the
Right.
use cases.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the ecosystem plays. So somebody has to be the moderator. Somebody has to be the
Yeah.
mediator. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think I know we have 10 minutes more to go, but I always like to bring some humor in my discussions. So I think I know that we have heard this joke multiple times, but I love this joke when this blockchain discussion comes in, Prasanna, especially with you, that blockchain is a complex problem, a complex solution, which
Yes.
is looking forward to a problem. So basically,
Yeah, that's
solution
what.
has been fine. Solution has been fine, but problem has not been identified. So all
Yes,
of us
yes. I think
identify what problem we want to solve with
yeah.
blockchain.
Yeah, identification of use case is very, very important aspect. What has happened
Yeah.
in such an industry, people made a hype of the blockchain and started learning with so many courses, classes. But I think real value will come when they will identify some use cases which are path-breaking use cases.
Right.
Right. Say
I think-
example. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I think most of the fintech industry has been busy raising the funds. So the problem is that, and once they raise the fund, the natural tendency is that they go overseas market, because
Correct.
the market in Southeast Asia, Europe, and Middle East obviously are higher paying than India. So I think that is one problem which has been there, but which is nothing to negate that what they are doing is not right. But I think some long drawn problems have not been still solved by the fintech community, because like you rightly said, nobody's coming forward to take big bold steps. Everybody's trying to take a small piece of the problem and trying to make a business out of it and get the fund raised, right? And probably I think the time is coming as a fintech 2.0, wherein some of those bold companies will come and take a bigger problem by their horn and basically try to solve that problem. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents on this.
Yeah.
Great. So I think maybe quick 1 or 2 more questions. So Abhinna, just coming back to you on this, maybe let me just take your shot on what are the top 3 innovations you have seen so far in the industry, and maybe the 3 which you have a wish list to see.
See, we have to figure out till 2020, the whole world of finance was about scarcity. We lived because customers lived in a life of scarcity. So if you ask our parents what is life, everything was about scarcity, manage, keep everything. We have suddenly moved to a world of abundance with digital, because people who have not been using digital as a medium, they also have flocked into it and try to figure out. Say, for example, when we go to an HNI, he used to say, please don't send me SMS or WhatsApp, I don't see it. You come to my home and we will have tea and we will discuss. I'm saying you ground reality, because ask me, I am marrying business and technology together. That's my job, right? Now, because of pandemic, this same HNI or Ultra HNI has used Google Meet or used Zoom to talk to their grandchild. And he's very happy using the technology.
Yeah.
He's very, very happy calling WhatsApp call. Dadi is so happy to buy saris from WhatsApp chat.
Very
Show
nice.
me the sari, I will do it. So customer has changed. That is what is the expectation they are doing. Not just the communication. They say, just tell us where should I keep my money that I will get this much return. Just tell us, do I have enough insurance? So what will happen in the BFSI sector? Typically, banks have to, by default, because banks own the infrastructure in India, RBI looks up to bank for everything. Banks have to start spending further more amount on infra. You see, Prasanna was talking about UPI, but honestly, what is the success rate of UPI? UPI is used everywhere, but the success rate sits at 65%. There is 35% of times when the UPI does not work. And why it is? Because there is no money to be made. So at the end of the day, you have to also see, we have a very small all CEOs, all CXOs have a very small window to deliver value to the stakeholders. In that, they by default have to choose an innovation which is incremental and give them money. What I see is the innovation will start happening from FANG. The Facebook, the Amazon, the Googles of the world, they are flushed with money and they are trying to own our ecosystem, right? Because there is no boundary. So my wish list of innovation is when, if you first ask me, is as a Bajaj Capital, we want, how are we going to delight the customers and tell them when they make a mistake, because mistakes of money are very, very irreversible in nature. We don't think it this way because we are trying to bring solutions of two kinds: one, existing customer, and for then second, innovation is on the inclusion. Like you see a company like Cladiofin, right, which a lot of us don't know, but it is a massive company in Bharat 4. We are not going, this is not wealth. People will be looking at innovation that will keep them wealthy rather than make them rich. So one generation would look for innovation which will make them richer. Another set of audience will look for how can I remain wealthy. And then wealth will not be about just financial wealth, but about your physical health, your mental health. And financial companies like we at Bajaj Capital have moved from being a financial well-being company to a total well-being company. We have to be their partners for their across life, because now we are going to live years. What are you going to do after 60?
Yeah, true.
Or 58? So that's a huge amount of audience coming in. And one last thing, Sachin, because of the time paucity, Abhishek also will have great thoughts. I feel that, we do not want to be just first to be the innovators and take the big loss. There are a lot of people who are doing innovation. We need to learn from them. We have to create an ecosystem, which Prasanna was saying, that some industry body will come and monitor this whole thing happening, which is already happening. But the great thing startups are doing, we have to let them do because they have that DNA. Our DNA is like, we have to move slow and steady, but keep capturing the market. So I think that's where I see innovation happening, rather than just trying to be first. Yeah.
Excellent. No, very good thoughts. Abhishek, your thoughts on it? Maybe because of paucity of time, maybe you can talk about futuristic. Where do you see 2 or 3 things happening or needed to happen? Like Prasanna talked about ecosystem, Abhina talked about also the point of views, how people are engaging and what's the impact and where the banks or infrastructure has to come in. What about your thoughts?
So I think 2 other thoughts, apart from the areas which Abhin and Prasanna were talking, is which will need to be focused as a part of digital transformation, is security and privacy. I feel those are going to be 2 other critical areas. So I feel the whole last 10 months have helped handhold the generation and the customers who are not willing to get into this digital phase. It has helped us to handle and get them there. But they still have this fear, right? That is my data getting compromised? Is my privacy getting compromised? I feel that is the trust which I feel Prasanna to some extent was trying to address there. It is very, very important. Prasanna was saying trust is going to play a very big factor. Abhin keeps talking about it, right? So I feel that part is going to be the other very important part in the digital transformation, which I see, right? That as we keep building new facilities, new components, new products, continue to build that trust and that privacy requirement which the customer has. He started feeling more and more vulnerable. I feel customer also, every time when he's getting I feel everyone started understanding that if the fee is not being paid, which means you are the product.
Yeah,
if there's no then you are the product, right? And I feel that everyone is, right? I mean, I remember speaking to some of my colleagues, some of my cousins who are actually just graduating out of college, saying that we very well understand if you're not making any money, if no one is making money, it means you are the product out there. Right. So it's going to be very important to keep building this trust and privacy requirement which the user and the customer now has as we go forward, as we build the overall digital agenda for each of our businesses.
I think very valid and very important point. In fact, my 81-year-old father also He's a retired doctor and he doesn't use digital mobile. I mean, now he's pushing me to open at least a wallet, but he says I need to have a clear segregation between the account and the wallet. If I have put 20,000 rupees, I am ready to lose that 20,000, but I'm not allowing somebody to do phishing with my account, right? But you can imagine, yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, because I think a lot of this phishing, I mean, while there's a lot of education happening of the consumers, people, etc., but even the young people have been conned, even the bankers have been conned. Let me put it this way, forget about anybody else, right? I mean, the police people have been conned. So I think our, one is technology support, and I think overall, I think something, it goes beyond the culture and the control in terms of law and order, because see, there are a lot of white collar criminals all over the place, right? Nowadays, you don't need to be doing a crime on the road. You can sit at your laptop and you can do it, right? And the more you are educated, the more you are powerful to do it. We have seen that, phishing attacks or even the cyber attacks happening on all the corporates and banks. So I think, yeah, that's a very important point. But always, I think, the people who are protecting always need to catch up with the people who are willing to break things or make things compromised. So I think that topic will always be there. And but yes, I think it's very important, because the more we become digital, the more we adopt. I think people are very vulnerable, and as Abhin talked about Bharat 4, etc., people don't really understand the meaning of sometimes what is OTP, can I share it, not share it, somebody's putting a money in my account or somebody's taking a money from my account. And even people like us get calls every second day from some corner of the country, trying to fool us on UPI or something, right? So I think that's a big problem culturally we have had, and I'm sure over a period of time, with law and order catching up with this cyber laws, etc., I'm sure it will improve. But yes, that's very good closing points from you. So with this, I think we are at the end. Imran, sorry I could not get time to come back to you, but I know I think you had a very good thought laid out. We will definitely have a chance if we have questions here. As Sania talked about that in question answer session, we can have few minutes more. So request to organizers and Sania that any questions from the audience, happy to take it to the panelist and give a point of view and also understand what the audience has been thinking about this discussion. Yes, so just I'll put a pause to it and then wait for that. Yeah. Okay, I think Sania says that we can have 5 more minutes. I think that's great. So probably then, Imran, I think why not another question to you, that how has been experience of because you are representing the fintech community and we did talk about fintech quite a bit, etc. What's in the mind of fintechs when they are trying to solve these problems and bringing innovation to the table? Is there a receptiveness in the minds of in the customer base, whether it's a banks or insurance companies or wealth management companies, or you see more about curiosity but less about adoption? What is your quick thoughts on that?
Yes, both indeed. Thank you, Sachin. It's both. Let's say if you ask me a year ago, it was more before COVID. It was more of curiosity. This looks cool. AI is nice. Would like to understand what it is. It's not really about implementation. But last 6 months or things are changed. It's changing. And like Abhina said rightly, that okay, we are good at engaging with the customer. We want to be getting the customers onboarded and let startups or let the fintech companies do the innovation. That's in their DNA, and that's where we at Simplify we see the world is changing, especially into the BFSI. It's not curiosity anymore; it's a need. So we see that companies are really the financial institutions, big financial institutions, are open to try the technology and get into the ecosystem of theirs. And there are more niche players are coming in, like Simplify, who is specialized in doing one particular thing within the NLP. That's the specialty. And the big banks are willing to say that okay, let's try it out and let's put it into the production. As long as it doesn't take more than 8 weeks, we are willing to try. Do I need the competency from the data science in my team? Most likely no. Do I need how much time I need to spend on getting this new technology on board? Is it just another system? So there are a lot of factors still affecting. Do I have to keep myself to one more system? If the answer is no, then it's this decision making is easy easy that way. And of course, Abhishek and Prasanna has been talking about security. That plays also a major role. As long as you tick up all these boxes, the industry is pretty much opening up, especially with and I still believe that during 2021 we are going to see the IPA, intelligence process automation. It's not only the customer service, it can be the claim processing, it can be the reconciliation or other things. We are taking RPA to the next level. Robotic process automation is moving towards the intelligent process automation. And of course, Gartner uses the term called hyper automation, which again points to the similar technologies there. So yeah, I think things are moving fast in regards to the BFSI. Big BFSI institutions are opening up fintech, especially in India.
Excellent. Thank you, Imran. Thank you for that insight. So with this, I think thanks to all the panelists for a wonderful session. I think a lot of insights, a lot of thought process, a lot of thought-provoking ideas, and I'm sure some of them will get picked up by us in our own sphere of work, what we do. And with this, Sania, thank you for inviting us. And so if you permit, then if there are any questions, we would be happy to answer with the help of panelists. If there are not, then we would request if we can conclude the panel, please.
Hello?
Yes, Sania, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was a really wonderful insights from all of you, and thank you all for taking so much time to join the session. Prasanna sir, Abhishek sir, Mr. Khare, Imran sir, Sachin sir. Thank you so much. This was really indeed a wonderful discussion. So thanks guys.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Wonderful meeting all of you. Yeah, thank you.